Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to RTO. It's Ian, your host. Hope everyone is well. Welcome to Wednesday Marathon. Today we are going to be doing French Wizard on the keyboards, Mr. Jean Michel Jarre. There's not much you can say about him. He's been around for a long time. Made some good albums and he's made some bad albums, but we're allowed that. We're going to be ranking I think 21 today, but we're going to start off with an honourable mention. This is a compilation album called Aero. Aero means Anthology of Electronic Revisited Originals. He recorded them in 5.1 sound and he redone a couple of tracks. You got Oxygène 2 on here, and then we got Aero, which is a remake and up-tempo version of Jean Michel Souvenirs, which is pretty good. Equinoxe 8, Equinoxe 4. Then we get Souvenirs of China now. This appeared only up until then on the live album from China. I love that track. The studio version is really good as well. It's a nice piece of music. It's got sound effects of cameras going on, really good. Then we get Aerology. This is a good bit of music again, very funky track. And the other one that you get that's not on anything else is Aerozone. It's alright, but it's not the best. So I thought I'd mention it because they have got some good little bits on there. Okay then, so let's start the actual rankings. Okay, coming in at number 21, this is his most current album, the 21st, released on the 9th of April 2021. Now it's an album that serves as a 52-minute musical score for an exhibition about the Amazônia, and it's by a photographer and filmmaker called Sebastian Salgado. Okay, what this was made for, if you're watching the pictures and that, it may work, but as a listening album, it doesn't. Apart from part 7 and part 9, the rest of it is drab, noise, sort of sounds of the jungle, with a bit of keyboard popping in and out. Amazonia part 7 though is quite good. It's got a little bit more keyboard, and part 9's a little bit better. So he gets a 1 out of 10 from me. He just doesn't do what it says on the tin really, and if you're going to do stuff for other people, just do that, don't release it. He did it with other stuff like Eon Snapshots, interior music, which is worse than this, so you know, shouldn't have really released it in my opinion. Okay then, coming in at number 20 is from 2000, Sessions 2000, 14th album. Now this is a weird album because it was done to release Jean Michel Jarre from his contract with Disc Dreyfus. So what he did, he just threw a load of noise and dirge and called it an album. Very clever. Let's just get me out of this contract. So it's not commercially minded, it's just ambient, loud, chill out and jazz. And you can tell. First track, January the 24th. It's just drab jazz, and it's not even electronic really. It's just 3 or 4 musicians playing all different songs. Then we get March the 23rd. It's actually a bit, when he released an album called Essentials and Rarities, he actually give it a name, and it's Space of Freedom. It's not too bad actually. It's got a nice trumpet, muted trumpet sound through this. It's not too bad. Then we get May the 1st. This is quite a relaxing piano piece actually. Got no problem with that. But the 21st of June, 14th of September and December the 17th, they are dull as you like. Send you to sleep stuff. It's just dirge. Can't be doing with it. And I'll give it 1.2 out of 10 just for turning up and taking the mickey out of the music business. Okay, then coming in at number 19 is his second album from 1973. It's Granges Brûlées. It's a soundtrack to a film of the same name. So you got very short little pieces, but it's some interesting pieces on here. Like the first one, La Chanson de Granges Brûlées. It's quite daunting. It's all done on very basic keyboards, but it wasn't too bad. But La Praille de Rose is just noise. The Helicopter is raw Jarre, not too bad. Un Mont dans la Neige, lots of weird stuff going on there. Zigzag, it's quite cheesy but fun. Le Juge, not too bad. Le Car, Le Chasseurs. Even though this is very short, you can see you can see the potential of Jean Michel Jarre. Then the Theme de l'Argent, another little short track, it's not too bad. Rosé, this is like the first thing you could notice. Oh, that's going to be good. That's going to be Jean Michel Jarre. Hesitation's just too weird for me. It's 1 minute of absolute nonsense. Le Perquisition de Paysan, it's listenable. And Reconstitution, oh, dreadful. I'm glad it's only 55 seconds. Then we get the title track, Le Granges Brûlées. It's quite good, but very basic. And Destin de Village, again, it's got the signs of something really good to be going on with. Then we get La Vérité. This turns up later on another album. It sounds a lot better, but it's quite a nice little ditty. Then we get Générique. It's like the first part of this. It's my views on the closing credits. On the whole, it's not too bad, so I'll give it 2 out of 10 because of the potential. Okay, coming in at number 18 is Deserted Palace. This is the first studio album by Jean Michel Jarre, and it came out in 1973. It's the first name that he's got to his name because the soundtrack is the soundtrack, so this is his first proper album. Poltergeist Party, that's an interesting piece. It's got some nice little bits in it, but nothing to write home about. Music Box Concerto, this will appear on Equinoxe in a different form. Rainforest Rap Session, even as basic as it is, he gets some great keyboard effects on that. Love Theme for Gargoyles, it's a nice little 1 minute 15 computer sequence. Oh, I'm just seeing if it looks like it's going to rain. I've got some washing out. Being distracted there, sorry about that, folks. Okay then, The Bridge of Promises is the first real proper tune from Jean Michel Jarre. He got the drum machine a little bit out, but then again it was still early days. Then we get Aspirated Frog. I affectionately call this the fart song because that's what it sounds like, someone with terrible wind. Then we get Take Me to Your Leader, drum sequence with a few nice effects. And if you heard the click clop, that means Rocky's joined us. Deserted Palace, the title track, very good piece of music, 2.5 minutes. It does show the potential there. Then we get a thing called Pogo Rock. It's quite rocky. It's got a sound that sounds like a guitar, but I don't think it is. Really good. Winsett Canyon, this is quite a long track. It's okay, but again, you could see that potential of what he wanted to do. The Abominable Snowman, quirky minute track, really good. Hitchhiker, not too bad either. Free Floating Anxiety, it's just loads of weird noises, not for me. Synthetic Jungle, I'll just put yuck in my notes. I think that says it all. But what I've put for B Factory is shite. It is awful. But the album does get a 2.5 rating for the good bits, because there was a lot of potential there. Let's move on. Coming in at number 17, it's a 13th album, came out in January 2000, Métamorphoses. A mixed bag here, mixed bag. He's gone into using voice sampling, house, techno, trance, dance, pop. It's okay in places, but on the whole it is pretty iffy. First track is Jean Michel Jarre. This is the original version of Aero. Features Laurie Anderson. Now Laurie Anderson made that dreadful single in 1981, Oh Superman. How the hell that got to number 2 in the charts, I don't know, but her vocal is awful. Less said about that the better. I'm just glad he got rid of her and made it a little bit more up tempo. C'est la vie featuring Natasha Atlas, not too bad. It's got some Middle Eastern overtones and she gives a good vocal performance. Rendez-Vous at Paris featuring Sharon Core. You know who she come from. It's quite techno, but it's got a really good melodic beat at the same time and very listenable. Then we get Hey Gagarin. Very clever use of voice sampling here. He just takes them little bits and makes it into a really good tune. Millions of Stars. This is featuring Veronique Bosa and Lisa Jacobs. Really good bit of music this is. He's actually sampled some of his own stuff. There's too much to mention, but if you listen to it you'll see bits. I recognise that. Really great voice on this, and I've got an itch. It's all happening today. Then we get to Air Bleu. Not bad at all. You got this lady weather forecast to keep telling you the weather, but it's not a bad little track. Then we get Love Love Love. Weird in places, but it has actually got some nice keyboard work in this. Bells, I think it's a bit Tubular Bells in places, so it sounds more like stuff off Tubular Bells 3. Really good. Miss Moon featuring Deirdre Dubois. Oh, I struggle with this. It's dreary stuff. Ugh. Give Me a Sign featuring Veronica Bosa. I'll give you a sign. Out the door, please. It's just dreadful. Then Gloria, Lonely Boy. Oh, this is so disjointed. The keyboards actually sound like it's a cat jumping on a hot tin roof. Doesn't do a lot for me at all. And the last track is Stiletto featuring Olzes Setan. She sounds like she's in pain. She needs to go and see a doctor. Yeah. Not very good at all. But I'll give it 3 out of 10 purely on Millions of Stars, because it is great. Coming in at number 16 then is his 16th album from 2007, Téo Téa. A very mixed bag album. It's got some good tracks and it has got some tracks that just don't do it for me personally. Fresh news. This reminds me of Kraftwerk. Really good band from Germany they were, and it's got that sort of sound. expect them on retro ranking at some time. Then the title track is just far too dancey for me, and I just don't like dance music, so I just struggle with it. But then Beautiful Agony is a dance track, but sounds a lot better. I think it's more melodic, and the drum beat sounds a lot better in it. Then we've got Touch to Remember. It's really good, and it's got a robotic voice in this, and it really works. There's nothing wrong with that. It's very, very listenable. Then we get OK Do It Fast. This is a catchy piece of music, and it's pretty good. Then the next track, Partners in Crime #1. What's good about this is the melody and the keyboard sequencing, but what ruins this is that horrible 300 mile an hour drum beat that dance music has. Take that away, add a better drum, and it would be a pretty good track. But luckily in track 7, Partners in Crime 2, it's more of the same, but the drum actually fits, so it's sort of a lot better. Then we get Chatterbox, probably the worst out track on the album. What a load of crap that is, it's just a load of noise. Let me get In the Mood for You. Again, I can't get into this. There's lots of tap running and water dripping. All it wants you to do is go for a wee. And then sporadically you get this telephone ringing. What a load of rubbish. Gossip. It's just terrible. I can't even listen to it. It gets skipped over every time. Then Vintage. This is classic Jarre, but with that modern twist, and I really like it. It's the best track on the album. Melodic Rodeo. Starts off with some backward tape. You know, in the old days on the old reel-to-reel, we get that blah, 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 sort of noise. You get that. And then you get this great guitar sound, which is really good. And then you get an irritating keyboard that spoils it. Sorry, I just don't like that one much at all. Then we get Téo Téa 4am. This is just a pure rave track, and I don't like it. But I'll give it an RTO ranking of 3.3 for the bits that are on it are very good and very clever what he does. Okay, coming in at number 15 is the 10th album, released 11th of June 1990, Waiting for Cousteau. An album of two halves. The first part of the album is called Calypso, and it's split into 3 parts. Part 1, it's got a really Caribbean feel to this. It's got that steel drum sound associated with the Caribbean. It's the best bit of the album. Really upbeat, motivating you, gets you out of bed in the morning sort of thing. Really good. Part 2 again continues on from part 1. Another upbeat track, bright, breezy, great piece of music. Calypso 3, it's got a subtitle End of the Century. I like this. It's a bit more downbeat, and it gives you that feel that you're actually exploring the ocean bed, because they've got these nice sounds, really good piece of music. And then we get the worst 43 minutes of music, or can you call it music, that you'll ever get on any album from anybody. Waiting for Cousteau. It's just, I don't know how to describe it. It's just got noises of the sea and drips and I don't think I've ever listened to it all the way through, ever. I mean, I've had this album since it came out, 1990, and I never have listened to it all the way through. I sort of put it on when I was listening to this, just to go back and have a listen, just to see if I could listen to it, and I got about 4 minutes in, and then I had to switch it off. But I'll give it an RTO ranking of 4, purely on the Calypso trilogy, because it is a really good piece of music. Okay, coming in at number 14. It's the 6th album. Came out in 1983. It's music for supermarkets. Originally, this didn't come out to general purpose release, but it has been released since. But your origins are from 1983. Okay, first, it's basically called Music for Supermarkets Part 1. I think it's Part 1 to 7 or something like that. But the first bit is an overture, and basically it's just French voices speaking. But I love the French language. It's so passionate, a bit like the Italian language. I don't listen to it, but I listened to it to do this. I thought, God, so you don't know what they're saying, but they sound very dramatic. First bit of music is Part 1, and I love this. Looks like a fly's just walked past my door, as the dogs are going mad. Part 1 is very mystique. I love this piece. It's a proper Jarre piece. Terrific bit of music. Part 2, this is a bit annoying. It didn't do anything for me. Then Part 3, it's just pure Jarre magic. Absolutely brilliant. Pity the sound isn't too good, because this album is a little bit, the production on it is not very good. Part 5, it's got bits of trains going through and all sorts of noises, so much you can't hear the actual song. Part number 5, now this track will actually appear on another album, and it's got a vocoder on it, and it actually sounds the same. Vegetables, fresh vegetables, vegetables, fresh vegetables. Okay, I'm weird, but that's what I think it says, and I like it, and I even like it better when it became an even better track. Part 6, it's not too bad. The stable Jean Michel Jarre. Part 7 actually is annoying, but it appears a bit on another album somewhere else. And number 8, sorry, it's just too noisy. You just can't hear anything on it. But I'll give it a 5 because it's got 5 out of 10, because I do like Part 1 and I like part number number 5, which becomes something else. Okay, coming in at number 13, this is from May 2016, 18th studio album, Electronica 2, The Heart of the Noise. This is one of 2 albums that he done with the same title, where he joins up with other artists. Bit hit and miss, this album, and like the other one as well, but we'll discuss that when we've done the other one. So the first track on here is Heart of the Noise Part 1 with someone called Rone. Never heard of them, but this is actually a brilliant piece of music. It's so melodic, great keyboard line, and it's one of my favourite tracks by Jean Michel Jarre. Part 2 of The Heart of the Noise, atmospheric piece that actually complements Part 1, nothing wrong with that. Track 3, Brick England. This is working with the Pet Shop Boys. Unfortunately, I don't like the Pet Shop Boys. I just think Neil Tennant, whatever his name is, has got a voice that's so dull. It's enough said, really. So if I've upset the Pet Shop Boys fans, sorry, but I just can't get on with it. I've listened to it and it's just, yeah, that's Pet Shop Boys dull. It's a shame because Chris Lowe's quite a good keyboardist. Next track, These Creatures, is with Julia Holter. Very good track. Good beat, a nice vocal on it. Next track, As One, done with Primal Scream. Really good track. It's a bit dancey, of course, but it is a good track. Number 6 is my second favourite track on the album, Here For You, done with Gary Newman. I do like a lot of Gary Newman stuff. As an artist that will be coming on Retro Ranking at some stage. He's made some terrific records. Teaming up with Jarre was a good move because they come up with an absolute belter. Next track is Electries. He does this with the brilliant Hans Zimmer. When you get two minds like this working together, it's terrific. Great track. But we can't say the same about Exit with Edward Snowden. It's crap. It's dance, it's crap. Switch off. Number 9 again. This is with Peaches. It's got that hip hop sound and that awful hip hop vocal. Awful. Then we get Gazelle with Sebastian Tellier. Again, it's just another crap track. Switch On with Leon though is a little bit better. It's done with the Orb. I don't mind some of their stuff. They've made some very good stuff. This one reminds me though of Art of Noise, so it's thumbs up for me. Circus with Suramoso. Never heard of them. It's a good tune, but a naff drum beat. Whoever decided to put that on, he's shooting. 13 track on the album. Why This? Now this is a mouthful. Why This? Why That? And Why? This is a collaboration with Yellow. They've made a few good little tracks. I mean, the vocalist on here, I don't know what his name is because I'm not a great follower, but his voice is that deep voice and it works well on that track. The architect Jeff Mills, more of that dance crap that I don't like. Then we have a song called Swipe to the Right with Cyndi Lauper. Sounds too much like a Stock Aitken and Waterman thing. Not very good at all. Walking the Mile. This is with Christophe. Again, never heard of them. Great tune, great beat, crap vocal. Enough said. Then we get Falling Down. It's a Jarre on his own. It's not a bad piece of music. Quite modern, but it's got a good beat to it. Less was said about the Heart of the Noise, the Origin. It's just crap. Too dancey. It's got that horrible drum machine that needs throwing out the window. Awful. But as an album, it gets a ranking from me at 5.2 because of some very good tracks. More, it's to do with Hans Zimmer, Gary Newman, and the opening track really good. So coming in at number 12 by chance, it's Electronica 1, The Time Machine. Came out on the 16th of October 2015. Again, it's got a mixed bag of stuff on here. First track, Time Machine with Boys Noid. It's not too bad, got a catchy hook to it. I can live with that. Glory with M83. This is dreary as they come. Ugh. You want to go and reach for the pills when you listen to that. It's that bad. Close to Your Eyes is with Air. This is a very pleasant piece of music. Very melodic, relaxing, chilled stuff. It's got a harpy sounding keyboard. Nice voice sampling. Very pleasant to listen to. Okay, tracks 4 and 5 are automatic. Part 1 and Part 2. This is with Vince Clarke from Erasure and Yazoo. Vince Clarke, I think, is a very underrated musician. The stuff he did with the Yazoo was fantastic. I'm not a great fan of Erasure, I must admit, but I do think his compositions are superb. and working with Jean Michel Jarre was just a dream combination because they come up with two great bits of music, terrific stuff. Then we get If with Little Boots. Oh dear, yucky. Oh, can't stand it. Then we get a track called Immortals. Now, as you know, I don't like to swear much on this channel because there's no need to. But when he does a correlation with a band called Fuck Buttons, you have to. It's not too bad actually. It's got it's a bit dancey, but a great use of drum machines. It really adds to the track. Instead of going with that horrible 300-mile-an-hour sound, they actually picked a sequence that fitted in with the rest of the song, so it makes it quite listenable. Next track, Sons Have Gone. This is with Molby. Enough said, I just don't like his music or his style of singing. I like the music on this, it's a very good tune, but yeah, put a gag round Molby. Then we get the I never can say this word, Consequator, that's it. A bit mixed, it's okay in parts and it's spoilt with some awful dribble. Then we get a track called Travelator. Now when I looked at who was working with him, Pete Townsend, I thought, oh, this will be good. No, sorry, it's awful. Not your best work, Pete. Next track, Zero Gravity. This is with Tangerine Dream. This is awesome. It's got that proggy sound to it with electronic wizardry. Terrific track. My favourite track from the two albums. Love this to bits. Tangerine Dream is another band we'll be ranking. I do like their stuff. Then we get Rely On Me, and he's gone back to Laurie Anderson again. So this is very crap. Not just crap, very crap. Stardust with Armin van Buuren. Good solid track. Nice work. Even though it's a bit dancey, it's still a good track. Then we get Watching You with 3D of Massive Attack. This has got to be probably the worst thing that he's done. I've listened to about 2 seconds of it, and that first 2 seconds was enough to me to switch it off. Never listened to it. Then we get to end off the album, one of the last tracks on the album, A Question of Blood, which he does with John Carpenter, another great composer. This is an amazing piece of music, two great minds coming together, terrific song. Last song on the album, The Train in the River with Lang Lang. It's okay, but I still give it a 5.5 out of 10, purely because he's got some work with Tangerine Dream. Now what I can say about these two albums is, get rid of the crap, put all the good tracks on, and you have got an album that would probably be even higher in the rankings. But what spoils it is the absolute dribble on it as well. Okay then, coming in at number 11, 15th album, Geometry of Love, came out in October of 2003. For one of his modern albums, this is really good. I do like the weirdness on it. I like the atmospheric sounds. I like how relaxing it is. This is an album that you can listen on a beach to, which I've done many a time. It's just made for that sort of environment. Pleasure Principle, so mellow, atmospheric, great track. Geometry of Love Part 1, another atmospheric track, so relaxing. And then it's got an upbeat drum beat, but it's so relaxing. Soul Intrusion, it's as weird as you get from Jean Michel Jarre, but it's still fantastic. I do like this track. Then we get Electric Flesh, another atmospheric track, wonderful piece. Then we get Skin Paradox. the best bit of music on here. It's so relaxing. Great sound effects. Terrific track. Velvet Road, again, dramatic, relaxing. Ninja Dia, or Ninja Dia, or whatever you want to say. It's spelled D-J-A-I-N-A. A bit disjointed here. The drum sounds like it needs fixing. It just starts. Ugh. Then we have Geometry of Love, Part 2. Very up piece of music on the album. The longest piece actually. Great use of voice sampling. On the whole, it's a good album. 6.5 out of 10 from me. It's really good. So we're now moving into the top 10. So these are the essential albums of Jean Michel Jarre. Coming in at number 10 is the 7th album from 1984, Zoolook. Terrific album. After the three main ones, this was a bit diverse from what he usually does, and he worked well. He uses a lot of voice sampling on this, especially on the first track, Ethnicolor. 11 minutes 41. Great opening, one of the best opening tracks of an album. The comical side of this, the voice sounds like it's saying tit. It's like tit, tit, tit. It's probably not, but it's just me interpreting it as it. Second track, Diva. This is a mixture of the old Jarre and the new Jarre with the voice sampling. Fantastic track. Zoolook. This is pure genius. It's solely made up of voice sampling and a drum machine. Brilliant. Let me get Oumalou. It's Jean Michel Jarre's weirdness at its best. Moving atmospheric piece. Fantastic. Then we get Zoolook. This is an upbeat song, and I call it Upbeat Tit 2 because he keeps wanting to say the word tit. But I do like the track. Now the next track, Blah Blah Cafe. This is actually a remake of the music for Supermarkets Part 7. The one about the vegetables. And that line's still in there about fresh vegetables. Really good track. Then we get Ethnicolor 2. Another solid piece of music incorporating voice samplings, drum machines. Very good. On the whole, terrific album. Deserves to be in the top 10. 7 out of 10. Coming in at number 9 is the 9th album from 1988, Revolutions. Another solid album. Quintessential Jean Michel Jarre. Opens up with a epic called Industrial Revolution. It's got an overture and then it's got 3 parts. Every bit of this song is fantastic. Best piece of music on the album. The overture has got that grinding industrial sound, and you can feel it gives you the impression of the machines working. Terrific. Part 1 carries on, and it feels like there's a communication between machines. Really good. Part number 2 is a very short keyboard sequence, but very memorable. I do like that piece. And then part 3 actually combines parts of the other parts into a song. Really good song. Terrific start to an album. Coming in the 2 track on here is London Kid. Very poppy, very commercial, and it features Hank Marvin on guitar. As always, Hank Marvin is on the money with this. Terrific track. Next track, Revolutions. Awesome track. It starts off with this Middle Eastern eeriness, and as the track goes through, it's got this robotic voice, and it feels like that the machines are in rebellion. Terrific track. Then we get Tokyo Kid. It's actually a little bit of a letdown, bit of an anticlimax. You've had 3 stonkers, and then you get this. The vocal in here, if you call it vocal, is so annoying. It's a shame because this album again would have been a little bit higher. It bounces back with Computer Weekend. Got some catchy hooks in this. Just love listening to that. September. It's one of those tracks that the actual song, the tune, are terrific, but the vocal is a little bit annoying. And it ends up with a song called The Immigrant. Very dramatic ending. It's very much on the line of the end of Equinoxe. Very dramatic, great keyboards. But on the whole, apart from Tokyo Kid, it is a fantastic album. Tells a story of industrial revolution, really, from machines to computers, and I give it 7.2 out of 10. Very solid album. Okay, time for a drinks break before we go on, because I'm starting to dry up. Okay then, coming in at number 8 is the 19th album. Came out in December of 2016 on the anniversary of its original album, Oxygène. So this is Oxygène 3. Continuation of the Oxygène music, split up into 7 parts. Part 14. This is brilliant. This is an upbeat modern version of part 1. Absolutely brilliant. Love that track. And then part 15. It's brilliant, but there's a bit of keyboard in there that does me head in. It's just, I wish it'd go away. Oxygène part 16. Staple Jean Michel Jarre, solid track. Great keyboards in this. A few little sound effects thrown in there, really good. Oxygène part 17. This has got a great bassy sounding keyboard line, and the rest of the keyboard sounds entwines around this to make it such an awesome track. Part 18 is a very short piece of music, but it combines elements from Oxygène 1 and bits of Rendezvous. It is really good. Part 19, another piece of wizardry from Jean Michel Jarre. Does what it says on the tin. You recognise it's Jean Michel Jarre straight away. And the last piece, part 20, this is my favourite piece, and it's one of my favourite bits from the Oxygène suite as such. It starts off with this great church organ, and then it just stops. It goes, yeah, and then you get these classic bits of sampling and keyboard sound, and then all of a sudden that church organ comes floating back in and does the same again. Zoom. And then towards the end of this you get this drum beat, and all of a sudden you get bits of Oxygène part 6 coming in, and it sort of just works with the drum beat of Oxygène 20. It's terrific. Great album, and I give it 7.5 out of 10 because it's just a continuation of a great piece of music. Coming in at number 7 then is the 20th album. Came out in November 2018. Equinoxe Infinity. Another solid album. It's still a modern album, but it's got elements of classic Jean Michel Jarre. Movement 1, The Watchers, has got elements of excellent Equinoxe 1 and a really good piece. Movement 2, Flying Totems, classic Jean Michel Jarre. You know, it brings back that classic sound that he had. There's nothing modern about that. It's just pure classic Jean Michel Jarre. Then movement 3, Robots Don't Cry. This is clever. I think he's used the drum sound from Oxygène Part 4 and put another tune to it, and it works. It's terrific. Then we get movement 4, All That You Leave Behind. It's one of the weaker pieces on the album. That doesn't mean that it's not good. I do like it. Then we get If the Wind Could Speak. This is a quick little ditty, minute and a half, and it's a modern version of Band in the Rain. It's really good. Then we get another terrific track, probably the best on the album. It's in movement 6, Infinity. It's just a modern version of Equinoxe 5. Really, really good. The Machines Alone in movement 7. Nice bass keyboarding. This is like a proper bass guitar sound that you get from metal, and it just drives this track. Then we get the opening movement 8. It's accumulation of 7 really. It just adds a little bit more to it. It's another staple track. Don't Look Back, movement 8 is an okay, solid, nothing to write home about. And the most disappointing track is the last track, Equinoxe Infinity, movement 10. It's a bit flat and a bit of an anticlimax to the album, but I still give it 7.6 because it just hankers on the old days, and it's just a shame that the last track just sort of was a bit flat. Okay, coming in at number 6 is Chronologie. I think I pronounced it right. 11th album, 1993. Another solid album. Part 1 is another classic Jean Michel Jarre opening. Dramatic, atmospheric, nice keyboard runs, brilliant. Part 2, best bit of this album, the incorporation of the vocoder on classic Jean Michel Jarre sounding tracks is just terrific. Part 3 is the meeting of the classic and modern. It sort of starts off with classic sounding Jean Michel Jarre, and then we go into a more modern. The crossover is perfect, brilliant. Part 4, it's very disjointed, this electronic jazz. Ooh. It's the usual, too much going on and no one playing the same tune. Not particularly a favourite of mine. Number 5, it's more classic sounding Jean Michel Jarre, terrific track. Part 6 again, it just continues on from part 5. Wonderful piece of music. And then you get let down by part 7, bit of a dirge, but it's 2 minutes long, so it doesn't last very long. The last part is terrific. It's more like a progressive rock song, but done on keyboards. It's got so many layers, textures, all done on a keyboard. Brilliant, brilliant track. But on the whole, I give this 8 out of 10 because it is very solid. Couple of letdowns, but you can forgive him because it is a fantastic album. Okay, coming in at number 5 is from 1997. Oxygène 7 to 13, or Oxygène 2 on the Trilogy box set. It's the 12th album. and continues on with Oxygène. Oxygène 7, the opener. This is one of my favourite tracks by Jean Michel Jarre. Most tracks start off slow and build up and build up. This is the opposite way round. It starts off quite upbeat, and as you go through the track it's sort of in 3 different movements, and it just slows down, and then the end bit is just amazing. It's got rain effects, it's just very atmospheric, which goes lovely into Oxygène 8. It's more of that variation of Oxygène. Great track. Oxygène 9's got a lots of effects in this, which sort of distracts you from the main bit, but goes lovely into part 10. And this is another of them crossover tracks, some classic sounding Jean Michel Jarre. This has got techno drums that works very well to combine a really good track. Oxygène 11, not my favourite. It's got an annoying sequence in it that's just too overpowering for me. Part 12 is a variant on part 7. It's a little bit more slower but really good. And Oxygène 13 is a variant on part 6 of the first album. Really good track. On the whole, really good solid album. 8.5 out of 10. Coming in then at number 4 is the 8th album, released in 1986, Rendez-Vous. Solid album, top to bottom. There's not a bad track on this at all. We start off with the first Rendezvous. Classic eerie start to this album. It's in the same line as Oxygène Part 1, Equinoxe Part 1, Ethnicolor. Terrific. Then that goes into the second Rendezvous. This is split up into 4 parts. My second favourite track ever by Jean Michel Jarre. It's got that dramatic start, explodes after that eerie start, explodes straight into this great bit of keyboarding. Then we go into part 2, very operatic. I just love how it goes into this operatic sound. Then that sort of fades away into a part 3, which is another sort of eerie, dramatic keyboard short piece. And then part 4 is very, very, very much like part 2, but with the added choir doing the choral. It's terrific. Third Rendezvous is the laser harp song. If you've seen the live clips of him, he wears goggles, these gloves, and you got these the laser beams, and he touches them. Bit showmanship, but it's a really good track. I like the sound on that. Fourth Rendezvous, one of them all-time classics. It's another track that I think a lot of people know. Great track. Fifth Rendezvous is again 3 parts thing. First two parts are really good. Part 3 though, it's a little annoying and goes on far too long for me. But on the whole, that part is really good. And then we get the last Rendezvous bronze piece. This is dedicated to the astronaut Ron McNair, who was tragically killed on Challenger. When he did the concert in Houston, what should have happened is that the saxophone piece in this should have been played by Ron himself from the space shuttle, but it didn't happen. I've actually been to Florida to the Space Center, and the tribute to all them astronauts from both space shuttles is quite moving, and this is a fitting piece for Ron. Great album, 9 out of 10, very good album. Okay, coming in at number 3, the 5th album, from 1981, Magnetic Fields. Another solid album. Starts off with a 17-minute epic. Again, I think it's one of these electronic proggy songs. Starts off with a really great piece of music, and then it goes off into sound effects, including people playing table tennis, trains. It's just moving. Great track. Second part 2, is a favourite piece of mine. When I was younger, it sounded like the drum beat sounded like two rubber gloves rubbing together. I've actually put this on the playlist, but I've put the live version from China. Really is good track, better live than studio. Part 3 is the weakest track, but it's not the worst track I've heard. It's a bit plinky plonky, a bit disjointed, but it sort of fits on the album because it goes lovely straight into part 4, which is another favourite piece of music. Just all them elements that Jean Michel Jarre is known for. Absolutely terrific song. Then we get part 5, the last rumba, and it is what it is. It's a rumba, little bit of music, 3.5 minutes. Ends up a very good album, and it gets a ranking of 9.5 out of 10 because it is a fantastic album. Okay, let's go and have a look. What's number 2? Number 2 is Equinoxe, 4th studio, released in December of 1978. Another solid album. Considering it came out after a piece of genius, he followed it up with another great album, and I love Equinoxe. Part 1 is one of them classic openings from Jarre. Stunning keyboards, nothing else. Terrific. Equinoxe 2, very slow moving track, but really good. Atmospheric, can't go wrong. Equinoxe Part 3, love how this flows. It's got a really nice catchy hook. Can't get that one out of your head. Then we get Part 4. This is one of my favourite pieces because it's the way the combinations, its keyboards are great, the drum machine's great, the effects are great. It all combines really well. No fault with that one. Equinoxe 5 obviously is one of the best known bits of music. It's one of them tracks, if I never hear it again, I'm not going to get upset about, but I still like it. Part 6, it can be a little bit repetitive, but still solid. Equinoxe 7, another brilliant piece of music. It flows along, quirky keyboards, memorable hooks, and then it starts the thunder and rain towards the end, and that slides nicely into part 8, which starts off with the band in the rain, which is sort of a better version of La Variety off Le Granges Brûlées. And then after you get that, it slides into a variant of part 5, which is a lot slower than part 5. And I'll prefer this to the actual part 5. It's more dramatic, more atmospheric. On the whole, for a second album, not the second album, but after the album before it, you couldn't get any better. So this gets 9.8 out of 10, and so coming in at number 1, then it's a bit obvious if you're a bit of a Jarre fan. It's the 3rd album, out in 1976, and it's the fantastic Oxygène. You just can't get any better than this. This is quintessential album. It's one of them albums that is in my top 10 of all-time favourites. Starts off with that great opening dramatic keyboard, futuristic space sounding track, absolutely brilliant. Oxygène 2, love everything about this. Even the high-pitched keyboard sounds great. It just adds an extra dimension to a great track. Part 3, again we're carrying on, very dramatic piece. Flows very well, very short, and then that goes into the classic Oxygene Part 4. Everybody knows this. It's the best known track he ever done, and there's a reason for it, because it is just brilliant. I've always liked this from day one. Part 5, it's what I call another of them proggy electronic masterpieces. Starts slow but builds up, builds up, builds up, and then we end the album with that eerie drum beat and keyboards. That is Oxygene Part 6. What a great way to end a masterpiece. Hope you've enjoyed Jean Michel Jarre. If you haven't listened to any of his stuff, go and look in my playlist, because I've put a few tracks in there, what I'd say are the ones that give you a rough idea. That's the only show we're doing today, because it's Marathon Wednesday. Don't forget, tomorrow we have got the live stream where I'll be talking about what's happening on RTO. Then we're going to have a bit of a discussion, hopefully, on favourite gigs. I'll be talking about some of my favourite gigs, and no, not just the big gigs. You know, I've been to some gigs in pubs that have been memorable, and we'll hopefully have a few people join in and tell me about yours, and we'll spread the word. Just to say thank you very much for our 2 new subscribers. Welcome to the family. So guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, you know what you need to do. The viewing figures are going up as well, so we're starting to make a difference. So I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great Wednesday evening. Bye for now.